Alrighty, good evening everybody. Maybe morning for you. I don't know what it is, but for me, it's right now. So, E36, I know I just did this in Wash and Talk, but it's dirty, so I gotta clean it. I've been driving this car the most. I don't know why. It just seems like I don't know, I just keep grabbing the keys to this. We got major love bug season has started, so now we got to deal with all of that. And deal with all the bug guts all over the place. So May, late April through May, sometimes into early June, in Florida we get these little bugs called love bugs. They show up, they flutter around, and then they have a enzyme in their guts that jacks up your paint. If you don't have to get it off like right this minute, but you don't want to leave it on for too long. A couple of days, you want to get it off. Especially if your car's sitting out baking in the sun, even if it's coated, you really have to be mindful to get it off the car. Now there's nothing special you need to do. You don't need any bug removers, you don't need anything like that. If your car is coated and then topped and then regularly maintained, you shouldn't need to do anything else but simply wash it. And that's what I'm gonna do. So, as of right now, the plan is still to give this car away in the fall, September, October. There is a possibility, like as time goes on, if I decide I love this thing and I want to keep it. As of right now, I just can't see that happening. But let's say that was the case. I would. I would possibly do a giveaway on the Raptor, Michelle's Gen 2 Raptor. What I think I want, because to me, especially as much as Michelle drives, and now with the Rivian, I just don't think having an electrical vehicle for her is practical enough yet to be her sole vehicle, because she drives like 35,000 miles a year, it seems. So we still need. So I think the electric truck becomes our like family flex vehicle. I'm really reluctant now. It's sitting on a hill here. I'm reluctant to raise this because the car handles so well, but I do need to get a final alignment on it since I got the camber fixed. So I would like to come up a little bit in the rear and come down a little bit, like a tiny bit in the front. So I may roll it into the garage here in the next couple of weeks and do that. And Mike's going to take it up to our guy and have it aligned. It's already been aligned, but when we swap the camber plates over, there's probably a little bit of toe adjustment that's needed. The alignment or the camber should be pretty decently correct. I think this is the dirtiest this car's ever been, under my ownership anyway. I don't even think. Part of the reason it's been sitting outside the last few days because we're finishing the backsplash, the countertop, the wiring. So my garage will be done Monday or Tuesday. So we'll have that complete. and then I'll pull it back in. So I'll pull it in tonight. I'll charge the Rivian outside. Tomorrow I'm going to do a, while we're working on the garage, I'm going to do a wash and talk on the Rivian. Like, I'll probably decon it while I'm doing that. Sort of introduce you to the Rivian. It's really nice, man. Like, I can't believe. I mean, I didn't do a whole heck of a lot of research on it. It's hard to explain. I'm sure many of you, not many of you, but some of you, a select few of you that have been, you know, overly financially blessed, and you end up getting car after car after car after car. It becomes a very different experience. I actually think I enjoy it much more. So despite the excitement and the fun and the how awesome it is to get a new car, you know, that experience, I don't really have that anymore. And this is going to sound, you're going to say yelling at me here, some of you. But I'm telling you, when you get to a certain point and owning enough cars and going through the process enough times, it becomes kind of routine. Now, I think I was sort of assessing this the other day when Michelle and I went to get the car. It was just such a different experience. I'm like, all right, let's go get the car. I'm not, not disappointed or not cranky about getting the car, but it's like, all right, I'm gonna go get a car, get another car. Let's do it. And it felt better, I think, than my traditional new car buying experience, because Dr. Beasley's metal coat is doing really well here. Because with that excitement comes an equal but opposite angst. Like, oh my gosh, I've got to get it clean. I've got to get it done. I've got to get it polished. I've got to do this. Need. I need to do this. Need to do that. Need to do this. And so I don't have that. I didn't even have that when I got my Brewster car. And I think I like it, man. It's just the equal but opposite angst is the hard part. So I think part of the reason why I felt like the experience was better, even though I don't have that rah energy, that pure raw excitement, that can't sleep the night before feeling. I think that part of the reason there's an equal but opposite angst around it is because, early on when you get a car and it's a big risk. So, like, for instance, the Rivian, I just paid for it, so there was no loan, or like I'm not making payments, or I didn't feel like out. God dang, this thing. I want a different one. I need a new one. This thing keeps popping off. So there's no risk angst that I normally get when I get a car. And I was just present, just purely present. Like, not worried about what I'm going to polish it and how I'm going to do that. And I wasn't videoing it. It was just there. I was present. I was really pleasantly surprised at the thing. I'll talk about this when I do the video tomorrow. It's a really shockingly nice car. It's a sissy truck. It's not a freaking real man truck at all. It's for Michelle. Like, I don't think I could roll in the Rivian. I mean, maybe occasionally if you're loading up the family, but it's not a very real man inspiring experience. So I wouldn't classify it. I don't even like it's really just a car and with a Honda Ridgeline like body. It's not body on frame. It's just basically an SUV. But the thing is really nice. Like, I can't believe how nice it is. It's like luxury nice, and then really, really well thought out. Now, I haven't even looked at the build quality, so we'll find out when we dig into it and start looking at it. And I'm gonna just polish and coat it. It's just really, really well thought out. To me, it's the perfect car line cruiser, meaning Michelle goes and sits in car line every day, dropping the kids off. Just freaking stay here for 1 second. And so, in the Raptor, just sitting there idling for like 30 minutes every day versus having the quiet, comfortable electric experience. It's gonna be really nice. Now, the charger's freaking terrible. I've got a 50 amp dedicated, and it only charges at like what they classify as like 15, 16 miles an hour. The Tesla did 45. So there's some wonk there. You know, Tesla's still far superior, you know, obviously technology-wise. But I just like I wanted this size. Yeah, we tried the Model 3. I was going to get the Model S. The Model S is just a little bit bigger than the Model 3. It was just too tight. My family hated it. They never wanted to take the Model 3, which is what I bought it for. Kids would get car sick in it, and just wasn't as nice of an experience. What's going on here? I guess that's just the way it goes. Gosh. Freaking thing. It like popped off, and now every time my hand slides, it slides forward. I don't like that. So yeah, we're gonna I'm gonna just do a coating on it. I'm not PPFing it or anything like that. I don't care that much about it, and they're gonna beat the crap out of it. So that's what I bought it for. So anyway, the experience of existing, being present in the buying experience. I was feeling a little guilty. I'm like, why am I not all pumped? Like, am I becoming jaded and, you know, and lacking joy? I'm like, no. I'm actually enjoying this way more because I don't have any of the pressure. Not putting any pressure on my, like, useless, unneeded pressure that doesn't, you know, it's like manufactured worry, and that kind of stuff is useless energy, wasted energy. So I felt really good about it. It's a really nice experience. I do like this softer bristled brush from Detail Factory. It's really nice. So I'm really getting into the pre-wash thing here, especially since I figured out how to make it work well. Just put this thing here. I got chaos. I got cars everywhere. I got stuff all over the place from I was finishing the counters. But really soon here, my garage is gonna be put together. All right, so we have straight touchless. Why do I do this every time? I wait too long. Now it's getting dark. Freaking laying on the couch watching basketball all day. Actually, I wasn't laying on the couch. I was doing some planning. So we're doing touchless. I've got it straight up in the bottle here. And I'm just doing a quick coverage so that I use less product. And I'm doing it with the normal double Krensless setup. If you've been watching, I was switching over to a smaller orifice and a single pressure washer. That's the way to go. It's, you know, you think about foaming differently. Well, I'm thinking about it differently than I normally do, in that I'm using a couple 100 milliliters of soap, just get it on the car and let it do its thing in the pre-wash form. So I guess I don't need a 1.25 figures. I threw away the, oh no, I didn't throw away the 1.5. I never brought it. So I'll have 3 foam cannons, one set up with a 1.5 millimeter orifice, and just leave the soap in. So I put straight auto foam in. So the straight, either touchless, this is touchless. So straight touchless, I leave both pressure washers on. I just get around the car quickly. I'm getting a panel impact ratio of around 3.25% according to my calculations. So on 3.25% panel impact ratio. When he sends me the new version of touchless, I'll be able to do, I guess it would be the same, but I'd be able to do a lower impact ratio, so I could actually dilute the soap in the bottle if I wanted to. And so I'll have one foam cannon with the 1.5 in the bucket with Brake Buster undiluted, one foam cannon that's empty, ready to put GSF in with a 1.5, and one foam cannon with the undiluted straight touchless. I like touchless best. The touchless that I can, you know, do this foaming. So that's going to be the plan. All right, let's rinse this off and then we'll foam it again. The only reason I'm not washing, I'd be washing in the garage right now, but the reason I'm not is because I got all those freaking speakers and crap on the floor. So we're not going to do that. I think that does make sense to wash it from bottom up. Just so we can have the snow foam be as effective as possible. My darn wash bay is stalled. I keep getting hit with another fee or charge. It was $3,600 to get soil samples. And then the engineers want to charge like $15,000 to engineer a frickin' pole barn. So what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna hire a metal building company. You know, there's tons of companies that do these pole barns all over Florida. Have them just put the darn thing up with metal red iron. And then, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And I'm talking about building a $75,000 pole barn, and I'm $16,000, $18,000 in just engineering and drawings. It's freaking crazy. So I'm not doing that. So there's all these, the problem is a pole barn becomes like a kite. You know, all that air and a hurricane can get up under it and freaking lift the thing off the ground, send it flying. So what I need is a company that just does metal buildings that has this already pre-engineered. since when does the wind blow this way? What the heck? It always blows the other way. Just because I'm foaming, it's blowing in my face. Blowing this crap all over my E92. I don't think it made it that far. Yeah, god dang, sorry, it's getting dark as crap. The heck? I think you can still see okay. Get in a little ISO if I need to. Oh boy, did I really step in it this weekend. I didn't even think about it. I made the video on the Sonic toolboxes. They're really nice. You know, I liked like the original S12 XD. I thought it was a nice toolbox for like the, you know, consumer garage to, or like, you know, if you just need a rolling box. I don't really like rolling boxes. Like I don't own one. I don't have one here. I don't have one at OG. So but you know, a lot of people, if you're starting out and you can't swing, you know, $10,000, $15,000 in cabinets, you know, you're better off getting a nice toolbox. And so if you're starting out, you usually won't have a ton of tools. You know, most people don't. And so having a nice basic toolbox seems like a, you know, pretty good thing to have. And while looking for cabinets, you know, when you start looking at cabinets, you're looking at toolboxes too. So I've scoured the darn earth. I mean, I don't think there's other than some like obscure European stuff that we don't have here, but you know, most of the European stuff is over here. You know, I've gone and put hands-on, and not just hands-on, but really scrutinized and played with, you know, all different types of toolboxes. And actually, if I go back to my start, so I got, I got my Craftsman toolbox when we moved into our Claremont house in 2005. That was my first toolbox. Otherwise, Charles and I, when my buddy Charles, when we lived in Windermere before I got married, we had like a bag with tools. And we'd go over a buddy's house if we were going to do something like suspension or something like that. So we didn't have very many tools. I had like a bag of stuff that like my dad gave me of like extras that he had, and bought a few things here and there, but just a bunch of random stuff. So when I got the house in Claremont, my first house, I'm like, man, I'm going to get a toolbox. But the dream was always, and this will explain what happened to the dream. The dream became sort of a nightmare for a little while. But the dream was, and this coincided with, I thought I was going to be a weekend track guy. So I thought I'd be at the track every weekend. I'd eventually have, a couple of cars. I'd have a dedicated track car. I would have to build an arsenal of tools. And then ultimately, if I ever got rich and famous someday, or just rich, I would have the Snapon truck come to my house. Like, that was the dream. I'm like, man, could you imagine? Like, I don't want to be a frickin' mechanic, but I want to have all the tools, so that way when I do work on something, that I have all the stuff. But this was before YouTube, before any of this stuff. That was the dream. I'm like, man, could you imagine if you had like Matco and Snapon coming to your house every day, or every week, and you're just buying stuff. And of course, naturally, I'd never really, at that point in 2000, whatever, 4 or 5, I never really experienced much nice stuff. But it just made sense. I'm gonna get Snap-on tools, and I want a Snap-on toolbox. That's what I want. We'd see it on the forums, and techs would post their toolbox acquisition. But these things were, even back then, were $8, $10, $12, $15, $20,000, depending on how many boxes you bolted together and how you built your workstation. And so that was the plan. I'm like, man, this is gonna be amazing. Someday I'm gonna get this. So I bought like a 300-piece set of Craftsman tools, and then I had the tools left over that my dad had given me, and started to put together. The guy got my first DeWalt set of battery-powered stuff. And so say 2005 through 2010, we sold that house in 2010. I was just kind of putting a hodgepodge of tools together, hoping someday I'd have the means. Actually, not really hoping, knowing. I knew someday I was gonna fail. Whatever I'm doing, I'm gonna try to succeed. I'm gonna succeed at it, or else I'm gonna, punt and do something else. So I think it was 2000. I don't know the exact date, but it was probably like 2000 and probably like 2012. I've become buddies with the guys at Titan Motorsports, Nero and Wes, and the team there. I had my E92, I had my S2000, and they'd get the Snapon truck. And this is my first experience. The Snapon truck comes, I'm like, sweet. I was just like, man, this is awesome. Like, one of the guys was buying something. Of course, he was buying everything on, one of the techs was buying something on credit, like they do. He was making a payment, and then, the truck guy always talks him into, well, instead of making the payment, or you make the payment, but now you have, $780 of available credit. So you have the ability to buy some other stuff. So he's buying some other crap, just keeping his credit line rolling. And so I walked in there with him, and I was like, man, someday I'm gonna have these guys come into my house. It's gonna be freaking awesome. Or my shop, or whatever, my garage. Again, this is still way before YouTube or any of this stuff, or any of this thought. So I'm like, man, this is gonna be the plan. And so I walked into the truck, and then in those trucks, you guys know that have bought from Snap-on before, you go in the truck, they have toolboxes lining the sides, usually the left and right, usually one side of the truck. Like when you look in the truck, you walk in, because depending on how big the truck is, you walk in from the side. Some of them you walk in through the front, like a UPS truck, and then other ones, they have like a little side door, some of the bigger ones, I think. I don't remember which one it was, but as I look in, and I walk in, and then they have the toolboxes. Like, they have some small versions of the toolbox that are kind of bolted to the wall there, and then they have it loaded up with different tools that they're displaying that you can, reach in and touch and feel and all that kind of stuff. And I open the box. First I'm like, what's going on here? It's this freaking weird latch thing. And then he's like, oh, there's the 4 fingers. You have the 4-finger latch. So you pull it over and it kind of unclips. And then I open the drawer and they kind of wobble out. Because the glides, I don't know what I was expecting, but thought it would be at least like my Craftsman. My Craftsman was like a $200 toolbox. And I don't know if it's because the glides are designed to be like looser ball bearings, but there was no, like, I remember this day vividly because it broke my heart. And the thing kind of wonks open, wobbles open, and I'm like, what the heck? And so then I was like, well, it's probably just the ones. These are just for display, the ones in the truck. So, I'm just, no big deal. So the guy at Titan has, I would think it was an Epic, or I don't know if they were Epics back then, but had like the flagship toolbox that he spent, whatever he spent on it, $12,000 on it or something like that. So I go inside. Now I'm starting to really look at it, because I was also starting to have a little bit of success at Merrill Lynch by then. So you know, I could see a potential for me to like realize some of these dreams. And his box was the same. I'm like, what the fuck? How much is this thing? You know, it's like, I think his setup was like, now he had the whole thing. He had the whole big, like 70-inch with the 2 side cars, the workbench, the flip up. So he had the overhead. He had the multiple closets on the right and left. I don't remember the exact number, but he said it's something that was like, you know, $16,000 or $17,000, $18,000, something like that. And I just couldn't believe it. I'm like, no way. Now, I had no experience with anything outside of Craftsman at the time. All right, let me rinse this off and we'll pull it in. I'll keep telling the story. I don't know, man. I think this whole touchless thing, I like it. I'll issue my formal apology to you Europeans here soon. All right, got the air conditioner going. We finish drying this thing off. Just blow off a little bit more. All right, so we're dry. Let's go back to my story. Frickin' rotors are rusting over. I should have sprayed the Atomac on there. Let's do it now. These darn steel. I don't like steel brakes. I do not like these steel brakes. This sprayer is no good. Yeah, I should have done this before. So back to my story. So I get in, I go and I spend some time with the guy's toolbox. I'm like, man, this is, I didn't tell him this because I get it. You know, you work your face off as a mechanic of some sort, and you spend way too much money on your tool of the trade, you know, to store all of your stuff that you're investing, you know, your future on. And I'm not going to tell the guy that thing sucks. I guess that's what I'm doing on YouTube. So that like crushed my dreams. I'm like, what the heck? It was the same thing with my plan to become a weekend racer, you know, weekend HPDE guy, high performance driving event guy, and do that every weekend and get a dedicated car for it. And I went there with my E92 to Sebring and I hated it. I'm like, this is horrible. I don't want to do this. It's just not for me. And so here I am thinking, here's my plan. I'm going to get this amazing toolbox, build this arsenal, these great tools, and it's just not good, man. It's really not. So then that led to, in the future, every place I went to, every time I went to a shop, if they had whatever toolbox they had. And so back then I didn't have all the tools, so I'd have to like go to different shops and things like that and get like, you know, you're getting alignment or going to a dyno. And every time I went somewhere, I would kind of talk to the guys about their toolboxes, and most of them would have Snapon, and most of them were making payments on them, and most of them, you know, loved it. but I just couldn't, I just didn't understand it. I just couldn't get it. I'm like, there has to be something better than this. And so then when I started making videos, and then, you know, I discovered the Sabre cabinet stuff. And again, I'm not much of a rolling toolbox guy anyway. I always wanted a giant array of cabinets across the back wall. That was the vision. And of course, even back then, this is like 2015, most people are buying Husky, or not Husky yet. Most people are buying Gladiator or New Age. I'm like, man, these are just terrible. So I waited. So I just dealt with my Craftsman workbench. If you guys have been around a long time, you remember my Craftsman workbench. It's like a, you know, like a $300 workbench and a $250 toolbox. And then I added the tops to the toolbox, and you know, made the toolbox a little taller, and you know, and then I got that workbench, put it next to it, and then I started to chase some cabinets. So I bought the cabinets from Griot's Garage, the Geneva cabinets. They were terrible, really, really terrible cabinets. The New Age stuff was nicer, and then on Garage Journal, I saw one dude, there was like one post in the whole journal, and I spent a lot of time on Garage Journal because I knew I was going to start to try to put a garage together. And, you know, I was heavy on the M3 forum and the GT3 forum, or the Renless forum. And so then I found, you know, Sabre, and then I bought a sample Sabre cabinet. I'm like, yeah, this is it. This is what we need to do. So the Sabre, I think my original Sabre array, which was about the same size as this one, this Lista array, I think it was like, maybe like $4,500 delivered, you know, with a ridiculous amount of shipping. So it was just a great, so to do a New Age array was like, I don't know, maybe $2,000, and to do the Sabre was $4,000. So it doubled the price. I thought, you know, that's reasonable. So I don't have a hate for the Snapon stuff. It's just not good. You know, they're just, I don't care where it's made. It doesn't matter. It's not, it doesn't look like it's American made. The drawer glides are probably the worst possible chosen glides of any drawer glide I've ever experienced. That latch mechanism, although probably pretty expensive to do, is terrible. The Rousseau latch mechanism is terrible too. I don't understand why you need a latch mechanism. You know, I guess it makes sense if you're, you know, if it's in a race trailer or something like that, you need to be able to, but you just lock it. You know, why wouldn't you just use the lock? And so this led me to where I'm at today. And then, you know, I take a lot of heat for using Sonic tools. Sonic tools are not the best tools. Not even freaking close. And, you know, there's many Snap-on tools that I like, some that I don't. I really love, like, the open-ended, like, Snap-on's open-ended wrenches, like the long ones. Those things are freaking awesome. I need to get a set of those. Shoot, this thing got soap spots all. Why are these soap spots not coming off? The heck? What's going on here? So it just led me down a pathway, a different pathway. It's like somebody told me that Santa Claus wasn't real when I went on that Sonic tool truck. I was freaking distraught. I'm like, what? What is going on? Like, this is like guaranteed, touted, like this is the best of the best. This is not good at all. It's like, it's not even that it's like, you know, I'm just opinionated, blah, blah. It's just not good. And it costs more money than I could possibly imagine. And so a telltale sign of any product, if you have to mark it up, so if you're playing that game where you're like, well, it's $22,000, but you're really gonna sell it for 9, that's not a good sign. Something's shady in the whole system. So a lot of guys are arguing on the YouTube video like, well, you know, I don't pay retail for anything. So, well, why isn't there just a price? Just give me the price. Tell me what the price is. Why is there like different prices for different people? Depending on what day it is. That's not a sign of quality. It's just, yeah. So anyway, I took Tommy, who's like become head of my, helping me with developing the products. You know, I took him to SEMA with me, and been telling him for all this time. I said, you know, these are not, the Snapon stuff is not good. I don't know that he didn't believe me, but they had, you know, Snapon boxes and Snapon cabinets there. And I showed him, I said, just open this drawer. And I looked at his face. He's like, holy, you just tell. He's like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe this. It's just not good. Like it's functional. And they do a really good job of like giving you different drawer sizes and stuff like that. That's great. You know, they really have, you know, they've been doing this for 100 years. And so they have a really good understanding of what a technician would want from a storage perspective. But then they're just giving you this, you know, this really, 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 really expensive and really not good product. Now, some of it is design choice. Like, for example, if you have a shiny cabinet, I think a shiny cabinet, like a high gloss cabinet, like they pretty much all are, and I know you can order different custom finishes and stuff on them, but a shiny cabinet means that you get fingerprints and stuff on it more easily, and so then you're going to be rubbing on it, and so every one I've ever seen is always all scratched up because, you know, most mechanics don't know, they're not like detailers, they're not coating and paint correcting their toolbox, and so oftentimes they're just wiping it down with a Griot's Garage Speed Shine or something, or whatever they have from Mother's detail spray they have laying around, and they're just wiping it down, and so they tend to get scratched up. And then, of course, you know, they're generally doing these like really shiny stuff that dudes, especially dudes like that, you know, that type of like the classic car type or the American car type, like shinier stuff. And so, you know, in general, the European style, the Hazette, Sonic style of thing appeals so much more to me. So when I pursued Sonic, I knew that just me personally, I wasn't at the level of, even when I got my first Sonic array, like I wasn't ready to pursue like chasing a curated line of tools. And so, and I also knew with battery powered, to pursue a curated line of tools really isn't all that practical because you have, you know, a battery architecture you kind of have to stick to. Becomes problematic to have like a different impact from one company and a Sawzall from another, and you know, and then trying to deal with having all these different batteries and all that stuff. So I knew that I wanted the Sonic cabinets, and I knew I wanted the Sonic foam inlays, but I also knew that the Sonic tools, you know, I'd probably prefer to have Snap-on tools or Matco tools, or in a perfect world, I would prefer to have Hazette tools. Hazette tools, Wera screwdrivers, and start to build Knipex pliers, doing a lot of Klein tools on the electrical side of things. And I knew that we would head down that road at some point. I actually really like channel lock too, even though channel lock would be regarded as below, you know, NWS or Knipex. But I thought we would get there someday, but I thought that would be 10 or 15 years from now, and had considerable resources, and we had the team to be able to develop that, and I had the money to be able to buy all these tools and figure out which one's which. And so to start, Sonic was a great option for me. And I figured I'd take some heat on the, well, what about curating? And you're supposed to be selling the best, and these aren't the best. And they're certainly better. They're better than what I've ever had. So I threw away all my Craftsman stuff that I'd amassed over the years and random channel locks, and gave away all that stuff in favor of a matching Sonic tool set, knowing that in the long term, we would, I'd kind of put something together. The difficulty in that is then you kind of lose there isn't a foam inlay on the planet that is as well done, even if you do the custom stuff. I've done several of those where I took pictures of my tools, and then I even did it one time where I sent out the tools. I literally threw them away. Like, it's just not as good. You have a lot of wasted space. You really need to, you would need to invest, well, you know, like Sonic has invested a ridiculous amount of time in figuring out what combination of tools to put together. And they have a whole team in the Netherlands doing that. And so until I can put that together, it's just not really very practical. I can't beat them at their own game. So I'm just dealing with the fact that I'll chase my Wera screwdrivers at some point in the future when I have the resources, manpower, and desire to do that. And so I didn't even think about it. I was making the video on these toolboxes, and the Sonic toolboxes. I'm like, man, these are really nice. And I just, so my distaste for the Snap-on toolbox comes from what I just explained, like this experience of, oh my gosh, I can't believe how bad this is for what it costs. Like, it's not bad. They're not bad toolboxes, but it's not good. It's not like amazing like it should be. Like, if we're talking about doing a $10,000 plus toolbox, it's got to be really good, like really good. Like, there's always going to be some flaws and some trade-offs and things like that, and then some general preferences, but it's really bad, man. Like, I just couldn't believe it. It freaking shocked me, the whole thing. I was like, man. And I understand I shouldn't have this much baggage attached to objects and tools and stuff like that, but this was my pursuit. It's just what I really wanted to get. I really wanted this whole experience of being able to, have professional grade things, but choose to pursue a different life. Like, I don't want to be a mechanic. I don't want that. It would be a mistake for me to do that. I was born with a rather flawed brain, but that brain has a certain value to it, especially in what I'm doing, with it. And so for me to become a BMW service tech, although I would probably love that, would be a mistake. So I wasn't even thinking about it in the video. I just said, forgot about I wasn't intending to offend, but I'd forgotten about that demo. The two people that are, they should be on the same side. Like the mask wearing, vaccine, let's do this all together type, and the Snap-on toolbox defender. They're the kind of people you want on your side if you're getting into a fight, for sure, because man, they are blinded by patriotism around their cause. And I would suspect that none of them have had hands-on experience with all of these different brands. I mean, I've literally flown across the country to see different toolboxes and brands and products, like for the last, 10 years now. And so I'm telling you, like, there's a reason why I've chosen Sonic and Lista. There always has to be some sacrifice made in the development of this product, this curated product line that I'm working toward. And which I've just explained to you, it'd be hard to understand unless you lived it. So I get that. But I'm telling you, list a box. If you're going to go full epic, like the full epic array, just buy a cabinet array for less money. Buy a list array of cabinets and put it in a fixed position. You know, you don't need wheels. You're not wheeling around those giant toolboxes, other than maybe clean behind it. So when you get that giant toolbox set up, you might as well just do a fixed cabinet array. And I'm telling you, MSS Plus, I don't care if it's made in Taiwan or not, is far superior, like miles better. And then if you're really concerned about capacity, like if you have a lot of like 3/4 inch stuff, heavy duty stuff, if you're doing like heavy machinery, mechanic stuff, you want to list a box, or you want to list a cabinet array. Because Lista and Rousseau are the two companies that use Austrian glides. The Austrian glides hold 440 pounds, and then the drawers are extra reinforced. And it's pretty telling, like if you look at because I've looked at all this stuff, if you look at like Snap-on's organization structure, they just don't have a good solution. It's always like kind of a sort of knockoff version of somebody that's done it better. So, and I get it. I mean, I get the anger, the tendency to blindly chase and trust, and also the defense around, hey, this is mine, I bought it, I paid too much for it, and you have to sort of justify that, otherwise you can't frickin' sleep at night. I get that. I don't have that, but I understand it. That sort of attachment to, you know, the product or thing that you purchased. I get why that would be that. Gosh, what did I get all? I'm gonna have to frickin' polish this thing. It's got all, that can't be from the soap. It's from something else. Something else got on the hood. So anyway, that's my Snap-on story. You can take it for what it's worth. I don't really get offended anymore by the, you're just doing this for the money. Well, I guess if you say that. I mean, I guess you're not wrong. I mean, I'm kind of doing what I love, and doing what I love requires me to make some money in order to do that. And so I guess you're kind of right in that, you know, I have to make choices largely more based on not how much money I'm going to make, but how much money I have to spend. You know, unless you've lived it, it'd be hard to comprehend. You know, I don't have a money tree in the backyard here. I have to, you know, make sacrifices. And then as I've sold more stuff, made more money, I've been able to make bigger gambles on taking on different products and things. Why did I grab this? I don't want this. I want the other thing. So, you know, the Sonic story, and I like the tools a lot. I love the organization, the foam inlays, and I absolutely love the cabinets and drawers. And then I'm trying, you know, because these Lista cabinets here, you know, this is an interesting thing to keep in mind, is that, like, if you look at these cabinets and you look at these drawers, you know, the Austrian glides are not the smoothest. Like, there's no, in the game of metal cabinets, there's no, like, you don't want like soft close drawers. They don't hold the weight, you know, the soft close hinge. And so you see these Austrian glides on the side here. That's what allows us to hold so much weight. And then they're 18 gauge steel, which really isn't enough to hold like the 400 pounds. We're going to distribute it out. And then when they do things like add the louvers or add the separators, that adds some rigidity to it. And then there's no reason, like the Rousseau cabinets have these handles that you have to flip up. And I'm telling you, half the time you're like, did I get it right? It doesn't quite want to open properly. And I really like the Rousseau stuff. Rousseau is like, I don't know why, they're like darn identical to Lista with some different, I think the Rousseau stuff looks a little better, has more style to it. but I do like the industrial feel and look of Lista. But I'm telling you, like, look at this up here. First of all, like, this cabinet is supposed to be a certain length, and this cabinet is supposed to be a certain length. There will be up to a 3/8 inch difference between this cabinet and the same one I have over here from cabinet to cabinet. So there's some of that American lack of precision. A lot of these are, you know, they're building them in I guess like a metal machine shop or something like that. I don't know what the Lista facility looks like. And some of this quality's probably changed since they were bought by a big corporation, Stanley Black & Decker. But like this cabinet up here, like if you look up in it, like look at the powder coating. So the corners aren't very square. This, you know, the cabinets oftentimes will have like a little weld drip or whatever you call that, where there's weld slurry or something. So I can't close the cabinets like this. I have to like take the doors and close them together. So there's some American wonk that you get from American made stuff that I'm telling you, the Taiwanese Sonic made stuff, it doesn't have. It doesn't have any of that. I can order a countertop, so I can design it in CAD and order a countertop exact. This countertop is a $5,000 countertop, and it was a 1/2 inch short. And we ordered the countertop to CAD spec of exactly what the cabinets are supposed to be. But they're made, I don't know if they're made by hand, but and it's funny because each one of these, inside of it has a little thing that somebody signs off on, and so they sign off on this kind of, you know, light powder coating up top and things like that. But I love these. I like these cabinets enough to pursue them, to want them. And what we're going to have to do with people, because the cabinets that I did in the garage here is about $30,000. And so if you get these cabinets, you're going to have to, you know, we're going to spend a lot of time just teaching people, hey, I want you to know what you're getting into. I think it probably comes down to Lista cabinets are generally ordered by somebody at the company or manufacturing facility. It's not like the guy that is paying for them, or the company that's paying for them is not the one that's using them. And so I think that they've just gotten away with slightly janked, slightly American janked. So it's made me question, you know, do I even want Lista? But if you were going to chase heavy duty, you want Lista Rousseau, because nobody else uses those glides. I think there was another, what was the other company I saw using those? I don't think it was Shark. And so Sonic and Snapon solution is to just put 2 sets of drawer glides in order to hold more capacity. What I'm getting at here is I didn't just come up with this like, that people are telling me to educate myself. I'm literally probably in the top like 0.0000 something % of educated when it comes to cabinets, outside of those that are actually making them, like engineers that have worked for several companies. Like, I guarantee you there's no end consumer that has spent more time and energy looking at and bought more plane tickets to look at stupid cabinets to try to find ones that are, and there's always a compromise, by the way. And so, you know, some of you that have made the compromise said, look, I love the storage capacity, I love the shiny cabinets, I like this or that, I like the latch system. I don't know how you could, it's the worst latch system ever, but again, that's just my opinion on that. But I get that, you just, you know, or you're supporting the brand. I'm a huge proponent of that. But attacking me for being stupid is crazy. Like, I'm not like making this up. Like, it's not just, you know, I'm not just basing this on, you know, what somebody told me or my daddy said or something like that. This is like legit experience, and like I've spent, you know, hours just playing with one time I forget what shop it was. I think it was my think it was my friend at my friend Cheese Shop. I was there all day. And so then Bill, my guy who was doing all my alignments for me, I was just like hanging out all day. And so I asked him if I could reorganize his toolbox. And so I spent like probably 4 or 5 hours playing with a darn Snap-on toolbox that he beat the crap out of it. And it, you know, it's 18 gauge steel, it's gonna hold up, but you know, it was beat to crap. And just dealing with the wobble drawers and the weird latch system. And so, if I were to choose a similar size, if you're going to choose the same size, right now I would choose the new Sonic Next box, knowing what I know. I've touched Hazette, Beta, and then there aren't as many toolbox options as there are cabinet options. You know, and then of course the new Harbor Freight Icon is just a knockoff of, like, if they were going to knock off one cabinet, why in the world would they knock off Snap-on? It's like the worst choice. They should knock off Lista. So anyway, I stepped in it. It's like a cult, man. It's so funny because the extremes of society, you know, I would wager most you know, Snap-on guys would probably identify a certain way, politically speaking, but they have the exact same sort of cult-like ideology around a Snap-on toolbox that like a climate change activist would have over, you know, oil usage and stuff. It's crazy. I just don't have that on any side other than, like, here's what I've learned, here's what I know, here's why, here's the value proposition to, you know, I'd love it if you buy stuff from me because then it affords me the ability to learn more stuff. Yes, I'm in business. Yes, I make a lot of money because I've hopefully provided some value. And no, I'm not going to be a mechanic. Yes, I could become a mechanic if I wanted to be. Why would I do that? That doesn't make any sense at all. Why I would go backwards and do that. And so if you are a mechanic, it doesn't make you better than, it doesn't make me better than you because I made the choice to not do that. It's just a chosen path. Oftentimes, you know, we don't choose our path. And so you get real defensive around your path that you're kind of stuck with. I'm not stuck with anything and do whatever I want. And so that does kind of put me in an advantaged position. An advantaged position to go around and travel around and figure out what cabinets I want to buy. Because I really like them. I really, really like, probably too much, I like cabinets a lot. So, yeah, E36, other than the hood there, it's looking good. Like, it's got something, the hood and roof I'm going to have to polish and just kind of decon and clean up. Just do a light finishing polish and there's some funk on there. Or from sitting outside, maybe, I don't know, something got on it. Certainly it can't be from that pH neutral soap. So anyway, thanks for watching this Wash and Talk. We'll do the 997 RS here soon. Giveaway starts in a few weeks, so we're going to start making some more content on that. I've kind of been holding back on the 997, knowing that I've got to, you know, talk about it for 2 months, and to really sell you on buying some tickets so I can get out from underneath that thing and hopefully, you know, garner some attention. But yeah, that's my weekly step in it. Was talking about Snap-on toolboxes. I honestly, normally when I pick a fight, like I'm doing it consciously, I didn't even think about it. Never even crossed my mind. I'm just like, look, I don't understand the whole Sonic toolbox or the whole Snap-on toolbox. I wasn't even really interested in the Sonic toolboxes. That's why they sent them to me. They just sent them to me and said, here, deal with these, you know, learn about these. And I was really pleasantly surprised. And actually, I kind of touched and felt them until I needed to move them somewhere. We needed to put them somewhere. And then I really started looking like, wow, these things are really nice. The drawer face design is better. The latch, the handle system, you know, all that stuff I talked about in the video, just added up. And then all the fit and finish of the three of them, they were perfect. Like, you know, just like same thing with all the MSS Plus cabinets. I mean, I'm sure we've had one or two, but in general, they're perfect. Like everything's perfectly square. All the drawers are perfectly aligned. I think the only thing that Sonic could do better would be if they could incorporate these drawer glides from the Austrian drawer glides that List and Rousseau use. And then if they kind of reinforce the drawer a little bit more to be able to hold the capacity. But then again, I've never overloaded a sonic drawer, other than maybe with like 3/4 inch drive sockets that I really had no business having. So, and the same argument could be held for the Snap-on box. I mean, a pair of glides on a, say, a 6-inch deep or 8-inch deep drawer, why would you need anything more than that? It holds 400 and so pounds, something like that. It's going to struggle with 400 pounds, but if it can hold it, you're probably always going to be under that anyway. So anyway, that's my thoughts. That's been my experience over the years with the different boxes. You know, Haley, Shark, List, Russo, Vault, New Age, Gladiator, Geneva, Sabre. What else have I gotten my hands on? Husky, Icon, Snap-on. Yeah, Snap-on actually makes full cabinets like this too. What else have I chased? Oh, Moduline. I love Moduline. Moduline's aluminum. I've kind of moderated on the Moduline thing, just because it's skinned aluminum. Oh, what's that other company that sent to us? It was like C-Tech or something like that, or C-Net or something. And probably a dozen more that I can't even. Beta, Hazet. They really don't do cabinets, but they do have a toolbox. I don't think Facom has a toolbox, but I spent quite a bit of time with Facom tools. I do like those. So anyway, I'm going to continue to pursue that knowledge, and we're going to chase the tool stuff in the next few years. And I'd love to put a curated line together and then figure out how to make and really design foam inlays like that, or maybe improve on the tool grid system on how the fit and finish of that looks. I like tool grid, but I could like it more if the fit and finish was a little bit different. So anyway, that's all I have for you tonight. E36 is clean. I feel good about it. I'm not doing the interior. Rivian's charging. We'll do Rivian tomorrow, and which you'll watch a couple of days after that. We have the garage stuff we're kind of finishing up here, so we'll put the garage video together. I want to do a dedicated audio tour of the garage here. But tomorrow I do have to spend some time working on casting a vision for our product and projects, and really getting that schedule dialed in. And then I'm looking for an assistant. So I'm going to find an assistant for myself. More to come on that. So anyway, thanks for watching. As always, stay tuned for more crazy. Sorry to offend all of you Snap-on guys. It's gonna be okay. You'll be all right.